Howdy there folks, it's Geist, and in today's video we're going to be doing a review slash guide of 33 Immortals. I've seen a few guides here and there, but this is mostly just going to be sort of a long rant slash come along with me type video where I'm going to just do an entire run and we're going to chat about it while I do. I'll tell you everything that I know about it and then maybe throw in a few tips and pointers and overall just tell you what I think of the game. Initial impressions, the best way to describe this game is it's like if Disney made Diablo. Um, So it's called 33 Immortals because you can have up to 33 people all participating in one activity, essentially a raid. And there's not a whole lot to it. It's a very simplistic game, but honestly it's a whole lot of fun and I like it for what it is, especially because it only takes up 5 gigs on the PC. Currently it is available on the Epic Games Store or the Xbox Store. You can play this on Xbox or on PC. And since it's on both of those, I'm going to go over the controls for both, which it's not very complicated for either. So first and foremost, if you're on Xbox using a controller, you move around with the left stick. You do a light attack, or just a basic attack, by pressing the X button. And then you do the alternate fire or other ability, whatever, by pressing the Y button, which in the case of the bow, calls back arrows. Some of the weapons, actually all 4 of the weapons, also have a charged attack. So if you hold down the X button, you'll do a charged attack. And then in the case of the bow, Y recalls the arrows. The only other thing to do is press the A button, which is your dodge. And you can spam that pretty constantly. Sort of like a Dark Souls dodge, you do have iframes during this animation. For PC, you obviously move around with the WASD keys. You dodge with the spacebar. Your main attack is by left clicking. And then your alt fire, or second ability, is by right clicking. And then of course, you charge just by holding down the left click. Alright, so moving on. This is sort of just like the main little camp. You'll be here most of the time whenever you're not participating in one of the raids. And there's a few NPCs that are important. You've got a whole bunch of different cosmetics that are available. You've got any of these robes, capes, cloaks, whatever you want to call it. Game calls it a cape. Your halos. Different skins for all of the weapons. Your pets, which I don't currently have one because I think they look a little silly. Maybe if they get some cooler pets later on. But it seems a little out of place to just have this cute little cat or dog when I'm some sort of lost soul, half-hollow dude with a flaming halo. And then your emotes, and most of these are honestly just kind of humorous. My personal favorite is the frog. Although my dad likes the snail, which it is funny. And the deer is funny as well. But this guy handles all your cosmetics. And this game is also heavily based off of the lore from Dante's Inferno. You'll see a lot of that with the names that are here. Like for instance, and it's all based in heaven and hell. A little more backstory about the game is you're essentially something like a lost soul or a hollow that's rebelling against heaven and hell to ascend and restore yourself. At least that's the gist of it. There's not really a whole lot to it, but there doesn't have to be. It's a fun and pretty little game. This guy over here, Dante, helps you with your perks. These are just sort of little passive abilities that you can have working in the background. You can upgrade them over time. Particularly, these are my top 3 right here. I like to boost my damage, boost your co-op power, which that's basically your ult. And I forgot to mention the ult, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then I like this one because it regenerates your health. Now, this is a roguelike game, so your health doesn't necessarily regenerate unless you have some kind of buff that's helping you out. And there's little shrines inside the raid that you can heal yourself at, but for the most part your health is not going to regenerate, and as you go along you'll get more and more powerful because you get these little perks, or these items to drop basically, which we'll cover right now. So right here you can view the relics, which are the things that give you little boosts. This is my personal favorite one, the Lamp of Purifying Flames, because it gives you health regen. Definitely helps to keep you alive. You get a currency as you complete these raids called Wish Dust or whatever. The little green stars that you see there. And you can use that to wish for these. And I can't remember what they're actually called. They're called something else. But either way, it's the little green stars there. And that they do a few different things in the game, but the most important thing to me is that you can kind of wish for these relics and it makes you more likely to actually get them to drop. I always just put all my points on this one because I want to get this one as much as possible. As for the rest, I don't particularly care. but I usually will go for the damage ones. And when they drop on the spot, you can use your bones, which is another currency that is only obtained inside the raid, that lets you re-roll those on the ground. And this lady here, Beatrice, has sort of like little quests. And completing these quests, these are always active, but completing them will raise your feat level, which will unlock different things as you're going through the game. Most importantly, you want to get to feat level 6, because that allows you to unlock these weapon upgrades, which will drastically change the way that these weapons perform. So the bow, at base, shoots arrows, and typically you have to hit the Y button or right click to recall the arrows, because they'll usually stay out, and I can make them do that with a charged attack. So see how those are just kind of hovering, and then you hit the alt button to recall them, and it'll damage mobs as they come back and pierce through everything. Now, at first, the bow is kind of annoying to use because of that, but I have this one, which is auto recall, which essentially just lets me spam my light attacks. And eventually they'll start jumping back to me, and they come back quicker than I'm ever going to be able to shoot them, which is very, very useful. I also like quick shot, just because it makes the arrow shoot a heck of a lot faster, so I can kind of just spam the button. Some of the others are decent, but the bow, which I've used the most, these are the two that I recommend the most. And your alt power, now you see down there, it shows right trigger. Look in the bottom left corner of my screen, that's my alt. As you do damage and you're running through the world, that little meter will charge. It's a little green ring, sort of bluish green. Once it fully charges, you hold down the right trigger, which will trigger your co-op ability, which, like I said, is like an ultimate. And what the bow one does is it creates 3 little spots on the ground, and as long as 2 other players run up and hit the right bumper, or on M and K, it's a different button, which we'll get to in a little bit, it will activate it. Sorry, let's go ahead and figure out what that is. It's E. It's E for mouse and keyboard, right bumper for controller. Now, when you activate that ability, it shoots like a storm of arrows upwards. And it's a pretty cool ult. It's definitely one of the highest damaging ults in the game. Very, very good for boss damage. And if we go to the sword is your tank ability, the great sword. Using your basic attacks just does some swinging. Whenever something is about to hit you, you hold the Y button. And you'll see, it's very obvious when mobs are about to hit you in the game, because you'll see little rings or stuff like that. Most of the other classes will dodge out of the way, but the sword can kind of face tank stuff. Typically the way that I play it, and you know, you do have your heavy slashes as well, but I rarely reuse those. Mostly I just sit there and I just spam light attacks, which, as long as you're hitting stuff, builds up that little blue meter, which is your guard meter. And then I just swing, swing, swing. The second something goes to hit me, I guard. And you'll know it's a successful guard because A, you'll stop all the damage, and B, you'll do a counterattack that does a nice cool little blue AoE that does quite a bit of damage. The ult for this one, similar to the bow, you need 2 other people to activate it, and it will give all 3 people a shield, which essentially acts as a second health bar, which will tank a bunch of hits before depleting and then eventually go to your health bar. But that shield is permanent, and as long as you're doing a good job guarding or dodging, you'll essentially never get hit, and you'll have that nice little sort of cushion there. The daggers are definitely the best for single target damage. The bow is our ranged DPS option, and it does so very well, and it's very good for bossing because of its ult. The daggers, however, are your best single target. So you spam your light attacks just like this, using the X button, you know, left click on the mouse. And then Y button is sort of like a jump attack, and it will consume the entire green bar. It does more damage the higher that is, and it's sort of like a finisher thing. So typically the best thing to do for these is you sit there and you'll just kind of spam attacks, and then you dodge away and then jump back. Now, one thing to note is you are invulnerable during that dash animation, both for your regular dash and for this actual thing. The lunge attack, it's like a finisher. You're immune during both, so it also isn't a horrible idea to sit there and kind of spam this. If you're safe, you can just kind of spam it as much as you want. But if you're in a situation where you're getting hit by stuff, it's not a terrible idea, especially when you're seeing all those red rings on the ground indicating damage, to wait for those red rings and then jump back and then do it again. And you'll be invulnerable during all of this, which will keep you alive. And that's how you survive a little bit more with the daggers, because otherwise you're kind of squishy. The ult for this one only requires 1 other person. And essentially it makes both of you do a little bit more crit damage, and you also spawn a bunch of bones more. And that's you know, again, that's a currency we'll get to when we're in there. Something that you'll find all over the place. It's good for buying some useful items once you're in there. And then last but not least, we come to the staff, which the staff is also another ranged option. It just shoots these little orbs that have a bit of AoE like bombs. You can do a charged attack, which will shoot a couple of them. And then holding down the alt ability button will cause you to charge up sort of an AoE slow, which I did not have any charge to it. So once you build up charge, that little pink meter down there, hold it down and boom. What that does is it slows enemies, so they have a harder time catching you. The ult for this one is that you release an entire slowing field, and it can be very, very useful for some mass crowd control. So essentially what the 4 roles are: you've got your ranged DPS, you've got your single target melee DPS, though you've got a little bit of AoE if they're stacked on top of each other. You've got your tank, and you've got your CQs, you've got your crowd control. Now we don't have any kind of healer yet. I'm assuming at some point later down the road when these other weapons get released, we will have maybe hopefully some kind of a healing class, which would be pretty neat. We don't really have any confirmed other weapons, but we know from pictures in game that we're also going to be getting a battle axe, a crossbow, and I think there was one other, but I can't, it was like a chakram looking type thing. But we don't have anything confirmed yet. This is still a work in progress game. It's in its early access phase, so we're still waiting on a bunch of stuff to get released. Now that's the basic for most of the weapons. I know I mentioned some of the upgrades for the bow, more so than I did these others. I actually do not have all of the upgrades for all these other ones yet, because I've obviously spent the most time working on the bow, because you guys know me, I'm a big bow fanatic. But they're worth keeping an eye out for. Now they are permanent. As long as you've got these equipped, they're not like everything else in the game where it's kind of up to chance if they drop. Once you get these to drop in the game, you unlock them forever, and you can equip up to 2 at a time, and they're always active. So no matter where I go, I always have those things active, which is really, really useful. But before you get them, you have to play with each weapon. After you get to level 6, they'll start dropping in the world. And there's a lot of loot drops. You want to keep your eye out for... I'll show you a couple if I manage to get something to drop in here. I'm sure something will drop. What they look like. And these are your daily quests. Don't have any right now, but that's okay. And this is how you start everything. Go up to this big gate. We have 2 places to choose from right now. We're not going to do Purgatorio. I'm going to let you guys have that as a surprise. You can see how awful that one is later. And Paradiso has not been given to us yet. We're going to start out, we're going to do Inferno. And you can play with up to 3 other players in a party as well. And yes, it is crossplay. I'm currently playing on PC. My dad and a couple other of my buddies have been playing on console, and we've been able to play no problems whatsoever. The game is very simplistic, so it does seem to be pretty darn stable. So you start off, and by the way, holding left trigger, or for mouse, the key down there, opens up your map. You can see where all the players are. The first thing I like to do immediately is to just start farming stuff as much as I can. So start killing some ads. That builds up your little purple splooge balls there that will make you level up, so to speak, while in here. So if you get enough of those, and ads will telegraph stuff by having red stuff on the ground, like little rings. It's not always a ring. Sometimes it's like a bar. Sometimes it's a line on the ground. You just have to look out for the red on the ground. Otherwise, these melee units will kind of rush you, and they'll glow white like that guy just did. So if you're the tank, you want to try to block as much as possible. Everybody else, you want to dodge as much as possible. And my damage is pretty good because I've been playing this for a little bit, but initially, you're going to need all the help you can get. And this is designed for 33 players, so it is still going to take a little bit of work, and you want to use as much teamwork as possible. But depending on what you want to go for, you can either just murder stuff, try to get your level up as quick as possible, and that little purple orb at the bottom right is what I'm building up. And this is one of the torment chambers. We'll get to that in a minute. Where is it? Let's see if I can find one. Well, I don't see one immediately, but as you're wandering around, you'll see these little things that kind of look like a purple orb is on them. And, oh, like right there. that will allow you to level up. So when I fill that meter at the bottom, I can come here and I can increase my damage, my health, or my empathy, which empathy boosts like co-op powers and stuff like that. For instance, like the tank, you'll give people more shields if your empathy is higher, and so on and so forth. Now, it's not always a terrible idea though, especially if you're one of the damage dealers, to just go all damage. But if you're, worried about survivability, of course, you can always pump up your health as well. These guys are kind of annoying to fight solo, but that's okay. And fair warning, your finger will get tired for mashing your attack button like crazy. Especially if you're using one of the faster attack builds like this one. But, I'm only having to press like a couple buttons, so I can't complain that much. It is still kind of fun. Oh, and here it comes. So this, I don't actually know the name for this, but it's kind of like a global attack that sort of happens that everybody gets targeted by. Whenever that happens, you want to get away from everybody else and get solo, because then there's barely anything that comes at you. When there's a bunch of people all together in one place, it can get kind of crazy with all the AoE spamming down everywhere and kind of hard to avoid. After that happens, it signals these torture chambers opening up, which you can see on the map. Some of these are now lit up. And they're like little mini dungeons. You just have to go in and clear. At every single one of these is a little bone shrine here, which is what that bone currency is for that we were talking about earlier. You can either give yourself a 25% heal, which also does a 10% AoE heal to anybody else nearby, or you can also buy a teleport stone or a key. The keys are used to open the second chest right here. If you don't have a key, like me, you can only open this one chest. Now, I've just chosen to come in here solo. There is nobody else. I'm probably going to get completely wrecked, but we're going to see what happens. I'm going to fight for my life here. And the other thing you can do, whenever you're not clearing these, you saw the little urns that I was attacking earlier. That's sort of one of the things that'll drop around the area, or spawn. You'll see the urns, and then you'll also see treasure chests. Urns, you just have to damage, and they'll give you a little bit of bones, and a little bit of the purple currency, which is used for various things in the game. Mostly for upgrades. They look like legendary shards from Destiny just a little bit, but the little purple crystals, they're used to upgrade. Oh, and there's a drop, and that's what they look like. Different colors, but hey, new cape. They have different colors every time, depending on what they are, but that's how you get perks and most of your cosmetics, as well as weapon upgrades. Whew. And up to 6 people can go into one of these. And if you're, a super awesome, cool person, then you can solo them if nobody's here to help you. But it does take a little bit longer because you have to dodge so much, because it turns into a bullet hell when you're in here solo. And I'm probably going to be okay. At some point, hopefully somebody will show up to try to help speed this up just a little bit. But, this is designed for 33 players, so a lot of the ads are pretty spongy. However, it is possible to get pretty overpowered in this. I am nowhere near the cap, but my character is decently strong enough and able to handle themselves and do quite a bit of damage, all things considered. When you're first starting out, you're not going to do damage like this at all. You're going to feel like you're running around slapping everything with a pool noodle and they're barely taking any damage. And that's kind of part of the fun of it. It's a little bit of a grind. It's sort of like a sense of, like Turbo Dark Souls. It's almost a sense of hopelessness. Like you can't fight anything. I don't want to say hopelessness, but it goes with the vibe of the game. It's meant for 33 players, but dedicated players can become strong enough to hold their own. Yep, here comes the cavalry. See, I held the fort down until they got here. I'll show you guys what the ult looks like if I can get them involved. Yeah, come on people, there it is. I will say the bow ult is probably the coolest one in the game. And yes, I'm a little biased, but I mean, come on. That looks pretty cool. There we go. And I don't have a key, so I'm just going to get this. Oh, sweet. That is a great one. 25% extra damage. Those are never the same every time. It's always random, and I forgot to do it, but when they're on the ground, you can press a button to kind of re-roll them. Whatever it prompts you to use. Here's the next global sort of damagey thingy. It's probably called a cataclysm or something fancy like that coincides with the Dante's Inferno lore, but it's very hard to miss. You get the golden rings on your screen and then you get attacked. Every time it happens, torture chamber opens up. Oops, somebody needs help. Wonder what they need. Oh. Buddy, I don't know if we're gonna get enough people for this. And there's other sort of little mini games. Like this. I've never actually successfully completed one of these because, well, it requires 6 people. Let's see, I will also try to get people over here. Okay, getting a few. Need 2 more. Jam-packed tea. And thick yogi. Come on, people. Well, they're trying. And, you know, the other people are busy with one of the torture chambers, so... don't really feel like sitting here for this long, so sorry, guys. And let's go ahead and get us some more damage. And I'm going to go ahead down to this other torture chamber and start trying to clear it. And on the way, maybe we'll find us a pot or something like that so we can... Oh, there we go. There's an urn. Get some more bones, top off my health just a bit. Yeah. Alright, let's see. Nobody's down here. Just got these annoying ads. Alright, they're on their way. And emotes for me are holding the left bumper there. You can kind of cycle through different things. It's your best way of communicating in the game right now. On M and K, it's holding the Alt key, as you can see down there. Alright, we're going to go ahead and enter. Start working on these ads while I wait on them to get down here. And there's a lot of other little fun things that'll pop up too while you're exploring out in that area and you're not working in the torture chambers. There will be like sometimes something where 3 people can stand together and you all hit a button just like Alt, and you'll sort of steal a buff that all 3 of you will get for a little bit. Sometimes it'll make the 3 of you invulnerable, sometimes it'll make you run faster, you know, whatever the case may be. It'll just be like a random buff. And then other times there'll be like a big boss that'll have a chain on them that attaches them to a chest. So you want to just kind of run around and complete as much stuff as you can. break urns, open chests, do as much, and kill enemies as much as you can in between doing torture chamber clears. Once we clear enough torture chambers, that will trigger the ascension battles, which you'll see in just a little bit. And once we clear the ascension battles, that leads us to the boss. I apologize in advance if you guys are hearing me mash on the controller. Mike should be canceling it out, but you might be getting a little bit of that. This is definitely a button mashing game. And you've only got to mash 2 or 3 buttons, so. Alright, let's get right about here. Pop it, guys. Yeah. I gotta take out that worm as quick as possible. That one is so annoying. As far as bosses go, the worms and then the totem ladies, you'll see them. They look like big ladies holding pillars on their backs. Those are the most annoying ones because they release the most AoE everywhere. The big melee guys are not really that difficult to deal with. They've got some pretty telegraphed attacks that are quite easy to avoid and or block. Ooh, I do want that purple crystal though. Took some damage for it. And good damage. Alright, pick up my rewards. Ease down. Get us another relic. Minus 30% damage. I'm not feeling tanky, so we're going to go ahead and re-roll it. Okay, more tanky stuff, but I can't afford anything else, so that's going to be it. Come on, guys, pop some heals. Yeah, that'll work. Secret chamber completed. Sweet. Go ahead and get more damage. Why, thank you, sir. Okay, and those last guys are working on that over there. I also apologize if you guys are hearing a good bit of sniffling out of me, but you know, allergy season and all that right now. And it can kind of be fun once you get in the lull of this, just mashing the same couple buttons, enjoying the simplicity of the game, and just wailing on ads. And art-wise, I don't mind the style of it at all. It's very simple, but it still has a very, you know, sort of nice charm to it. And right now it's kind of zoomed out, you know, it kind of just looks like cartoony Diablo. But you'll see when we get to the boss, they really put their work in, and the animations are pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of Cuphead just a little bit too, but you know, Cuphead is old style Disney, so. Let's see. There's a chest up there. And when you're trying to traverse the map as quickly as possible, I recommend dashing a ton. Sweet. Oh, here it is. And Ascension Battle unlocks. Alright. Now, the more of these that get completed, the better you do against the boss. Right off the bat, I don't know exactly what it helps buff, but I'm pretty sure it makes everybody do more damage overall and take less damage. At least that's the way I understand it. And I've definitely felt that before. Whenever we only complete one of these, it oftentimes feels kind of a slog trying to get through the boss. The other thing is, if people go to complete one of these, and you don't help them complete it, and they die, you're going to be missing a lot of people for the boss too. Once you die, you're out. You can get rezzed one time, but if you die again, that's it. And if nobody rezzes you, you're gone. Alright, so we got some people in the middle and the right. Ooh. That's going to be kind of dicey. on, people, activate it. Heck yeah. Shred them. And I'm going to try to take out as many of these AoE guys as I can. And by the way, remember that horrible, the lady with the pillar on the back? There's a big boss version of it. I always try to kill them as quick as possible because they're just annoying. Now, thankfully, we don't have it at our Ascension battle here, but a lot of times you'll get a bunch of those ladies and just the whole screen is covered in red circles. You can't even walk anywhere. Oh, sweet, my final bow upgrade. Oh, sweet, a weapon skin. Oh, sweet, a relic. Nice. Alright, because I'm a nice guy, let's see. I'm gonna head over here and help them finish up. The people on the right are kind of doomed. There's not really enough of them over there. I hate to abandon them like that, but I only had one teleport stone, so I had to pick the one that had a better chance of success. You know, in theory, the ideal way to do this is 11 people go middle, 11 people go left, 11 people go right. But a lot of times, if 2 is all you can get, you got a really solid chance of defeating the boss. I've only ever seen us complete 3 all at once a single time, and I've done many, many, many of these runs. Okay. And once you finish your upgrades and you've taken down 1 or 2 of these things, you can ascend. And before you ascend, always remember to hold the map button and take a look and make sure that someone else doesn't still need help like this time. You don't want to just complete 1 and then everybody ascends and then somebody's left struggling and you lose a ton of people. Unfortunately, I think we're going to lose those handful of people on the right, but it's better to lose 4 than to lose half of them. Oh, they won! Excellent. Some beastly players must have gone to that one, because there was only like 4 of them, so that's pretty cool. So, what do you know? This is the second time we've completed all 3. So we should have a really good chance against the boss, as long as we're packing some decent DPS. And here we go. I'm going to get quiet for just a second, and going to let you guys just kind of enjoy the really cool animations that the bosses have. Here we go. Very simple, but very cool. And if you look in the bottom for your button prompt, you can zoom out just a little bit, which lets you see this a little bit better. Obviously, he's pretty big, so you want to be able to see as much of the battle as you can. Oh yeah, and we've got some beautiful damage. Go ahead and pop my ult as well. Come on, people, light him up. Okay, now, he's casting something called Eternal Sorrow. When you see this, you need to immediately stop damaging the boss, and you need to blow up these crystals. Now, you do more damage if you're with other people attacking. So try to attack in tandem with others to burn these as fast as possible. The crystals are probably the worst one, but there's 3 different mechanics where if you don't complete a little mini objective, he can start wiping out a ton of players. Some of the tankier people that have more health are going to survive, but anybody that's low on health is probably going to get eviscerated by whatever he's doing. Alright, cool. So we got all the crystals down, and it's back to damaging him. And you'll know that he's about to do one of these group wipe mechanics because you'll see the little bar right below his health bar. And even though you complete the objective, he's still going to cast it, but it won't cover the entire board, which you'll see here shortly. Alright, here goes. Looks like we actually stunned him out of it. Nice. Oh, this group is tearing him up. But we did complete all 3 Ascension battles, so. Oh, here's another one. So now you gotta kill these little blue guys. Once again, try to attack with other people. And back to damaging him. Oh yeah. We're getting him. Alright, here comes my ult. Oh no. And the ults can be a little bit dodgy sometimes. You have to, sometimes you gotta try to cast them multiple times. You can't ult on top of other ults. And if there's hazards, you also can't. So you guys didn't get to see the other white mechanic, but you briefly saw some manacles. Think Volnir from Dark Souls. Little blue manacles, you gotta shatter them on his wrists. And that will stop that white mechanic. And then if you complete it like we just did, open this big chest at the end and get some more loot. Sweet. Got another emote. And that's it. Oh yeah, we had some beasts in here. This is sort of like a ranking scoreboard at the end, lets you know how well you did. I'm kind of middle of the pack here, which I kind of figured because we had some guys that were doing some absolutely crazy damage to him. And you know, they tend to look a little bit fancier too, like that. But you can see we got all kind of loot up there. And then it's back to the Dark Woods. Let's see what we got. Okay, kind of a boring weapon skin. Boo. Hey, a black cat. You know what? We'll go with the edgy cat. It's on brand. And we got another frog, which is fantastic. I'm going to have to equip that. That's great. Well, anyways, folks, I hope that sort of gives you some insight into this game. That's pretty much all I can think about. It's mostly just kind of chasing a bunch of little upgrades. You repeatedly go into those raids over and over. No experience is ever the same because it is a roguelike game. You get different relics every time, which give you different powers. And as you get stronger and stronger, it honestly gets more fun. And I haven't gotten bored of it yet. I've probably already killed that boss about 30 or 40 times, and I haven't gotten super bored yet. And yes, you do have to watch the animation of him every time, but it's short and sweet, and it's pretty cool. And I like seeing the direction they went with this. I really like the art style, and just in general, it's a really pretty game. And hello, random person. But anyways, folks, I hope you found this insightful. I hope I gave you a little bit more info than some of the other vids out there on this. I thought it was worth kind of a deep dive. I myself am enjoying this game. I definitely think it's worth picking up. As I said, it's on the Xbox Store and the Epic Games Store. If you have Xbox Game Pass, this game is completely free right now. But otherwise, it's early access, and it's just 20 bucks. And I think it's worth it. I think little games like this are definitely worth supporting because they put their time and effort into it, and it's a neat little thing. But anyways, folks, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.